Also with us is distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum, and our special guest, senior writer at The Federal, is back with us, Ben Weingarten. Thane, I'm going to start with you here. This is something that we've seen. It has gotten under the skin of the president. You can tell he's frustrated when he's been speaking to reporters throughout the trial. We've heard that the judge has been banging his hand on his desk, and it seems like it's a tough and tense situation. What do you think is going on behind those closed doors?
Well, Katrina, look, this is obviously a personal attack. I've been on your show many different times talking about how this goes to the very identity of who Donald Trump believes he is, and has proven that that has been a real estate titan in New York. And this essentially says that his fortune is ill-gotten, it's exaggerated, and that it should be liquidated, right? So you can see why he takes this so seriously. Also remember, the real question, you said it before the break, you said a consumer fraud case. He's saying, in what way does this fraud the consumer? There's no consumer involved here at all. You have sophisticated banks conducting their own valuations. And what he's essentially saying is, do the valuations even matter? You heard him just say, I'm a private company, right? I don't disclose this information. In what way do the valuations even matter, given the fact that the banks had themselves their own lawyers and accountants to create those valuations? So, look, try to take someone's identity and their self-definition away, and you get that expression on the president's face right there.
So, Wendy, as part of this case, he has his business licenses revoked. But what happens to the properties that he owns? I mean, they're businesses in themselves. Trump Tower has other people that likely rent the building, and he's making money through his businesses within it. But does he have to sell the businesses, these buildings, or what happens if this does go through and he's found guilty of this?
Well, remember, it's a civil trial, so they're looking for money damages, basically, in a civil trial. But what's interesting about this footage and your question, and actually this case in general, including the fact that he showed up for the first couple of days, is that this not only strikes at the core of his identity, but remember, it also strikes at the core of what makes him good as a candidate. I mean, he went from the boardroom to the Situation Room, bringing all of the business acumen with him, able to negotiate with other countries, able to do good things for Americans, lower gas prices, put more money in our pocket, and broker the kind of deals as the president as he was able to do as a businessman. So this trial to him, and it's written all over his face, he's testifying very loudly through his facial expressions in that courtroom. This really cuts to the core of what makes him a great candidate for president. Now, it may not also be a surprise that he was so vocal about this case, probably not also a surprise that the court's considering a more expansive gag order in response to that. But unlike the 4 criminal indictments, which have little to do, arguably, with the skills that this trial talks about, the money, the power, the business, the ability to grow an empire through his business, through his smarts, through his connections. Those 4 indictments, you don't see him really evince the same kind of emotion because they're different. In reality, however, they may pose a bigger hurdle to his candidacy than the business case.
Ben, I want to get your thoughts on this. The former president says he will testify in this case at the appropriate time. And now the prosecution is also planning to require the same of former President Trump's children, of course, both Eric and Don Jr. involved in the business, but they plan to bring Ivanka in as well. Your thoughts is that, A, should the president actually testify? His lawyers may be concerned about that, but is this over the top, or is this what you would expect?
Well, first of all, I understand why the president would want to testify, because this is a political show trial, just as the other 4 indictments are. In terms of how over the top this is, look, we have descended into the third world when you have a situation where an entire justice system has been weaponized against a representative of half the country with the kind of frivolous charges that have never been brought before under these kinds of circumstances, charges never before applied in these kinds of situations, and that's going even beyond the fraud case, of course. So what's the real fraud? It's the fraud being perpetrated on the American people, that an attempt to politically assassinate, bankrupt, and break, and jail, ultimately, the leading presidential candidate on the Republican side somehow constitutes a matter of justice. That's the real fraud here.
It will be interesting to see when he takes the stand. This trial
sure will.
expected to last into December. Thank you so much, Wendy Patrick and Thane Rosenbaum. We appreciate it.